switching it up a little bit, but I thought that we could have some fun with something that I find to be nostalgic, really. I grew up playing the Pokemon games back in the day. My very first game was Pokemon Blue version. Everybody was buying Pokemon Red, so I was like, well, I gotta be different. I gotta be different. And I think that at the point in time when I bought it, it was Pokemon Yellow was not available. So made do with the good old blue version, and because of that, it was just a fixture of my childhood that I still kind of have a cursory interest in as an adult. I wouldn't say I'm not playing competitively or anything crazy like that, like I see some people doing. They're full on, and that's awesome for them, but that's just not something that at this point in life that I have time for. But I thought it would be kind of fun to rehash some of that nostalgia with you all, whether you know what Pokemon is and you actively love it, or if you've never heard of it and you're like, what is this guy talking about? I figured that it could be something that we could get into and maybe goes through a few entries on the Pokemon Pokedex together and just have some fun with it. Just something different. We'll go with the National Dex, and we will start out. We'll see how many we get through, because obviously we want to get things done in a timely manner here. We don't want you guys to be on a video that is so long you're just begging for it to be over. We don't want that. But Pokemon number 1 is Bulbasaur. And it says the Bulbasaur is a grass poison type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1. Bulbasaur is a small, mainly turquoise amphibian Pokemon with red eyes and a green bulb on its back. It is based on a frog/toad with the bulb resembling a plant bulb that grows into a flower as it evolves. Bulbasaur is notable for being the very first Pokemon in the National Pokedex. It is one of 3 choices for a starter Pokemon in the original Game Boy games, Pokemon Red and Blue, or Red and Green in Japan, along with Charmander and Squirtle. And you can see here, its typing is grass and poison. And if you don't know what that means, I think that maybe in a later video, if you all enjoy this, we'll get into like the typings and what the relationships are and things like that. And so it says its height is 0.7 meters or 2 feet. Weight is 15 pounds or 6.9 kilograms, depending where you're watching from. And then it's got this little thing about abilities. Let's see if we can get into that. So Overgrow is one of its abilities, and that ups grass moves in combat. And then Chlorophyll, it's a hidden ability, and that raises speed and sunshine. So that's fun and different. And then it's got information about stats, and I don't want to spoil the evolutions if you don't know what they are, but the Pokedex entry that I wanted to read is just, I'll read the Dex entry for each generation that it comes from. So Red and Blue is the origin. So it says a strange seed was planted on its back at birth. The plant sprouts and grows with this Pokemon. And the other thing I wanted to highlight beyond the moves and everything that I thought would be fun is the name origin. So it says bulb, it's a type of plant, and then sar, it's a Greek suffix meaning lizard. Lizard. How about that? Alright, let's get into number 2, and that's Ivysaur. Ivysaur is a grass poison type also, just like Bulbasaur, also introduced in Generation 1. And it says a species seed Pokemon, height just over 3 feet or 1 meter, and then a weight of 28.7 pounds or 13 kilograms. Got stats here, which if you're paying attention, they're slightly better than last time. And it says when the bulb on its back grows large, it appears to lose the ability to stand on its hind legs. And then sticking with the name origin, Ivy's a type of plant, and then Sar again, the suffix meaning lizard. And then the last one of this line, and if you're not aware of how we're going from 1 to 2 to 3 here, in this instance, this is an evolutionary line. So Pokemon in the game, when they reach a certain level, they can evolve, and they become stronger, and then you can fight with them. It's so funny trying to explain it as if someone hasn't heard of it before because it seems so ubiquitous. It's been around for so long, and it was such a part of my childhood that it is funny to try and explain it. But this is also a grass poison, the seed Pokemon, and now it's over 6 feet tall, over 220 pounds, and it's retaining the overgrow and chlorophyll ability all the way through the stat line. And you can see the differences in the stats here. And it says that the plant blooms when it is absorbing solar energy. It stays on the move to seek sunlight. There's all the moves. And name origin Venus, so Venus flytrap, a median plant, and then sticking with the lizard suffix. Also, shout out to Pokemon Database for all this information that I'm sourcing it from. Let's go on to number 4. I may have to go back this way. Alright, we'll go back to the National Dex. Go back in, and number 4 is Charmander. Charmander. Now, this is one of the more popular Pokemon, probably just as far as being recognized, but its full evolution at the end is probably the most popular, being Charizard. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So it says Charmander is a fire-type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1. Charmander is a bipedal reptilian Pokemon. Most of its body is colored orange, while its underbelly is light yellow and it has blue eyes. It has a flame at the end of its tail, which is said to signify its health. Charmander's design is based on a lizard. However, as its name suggests, it may have been inspired by salamanders, which in mythology have an affinity with fire. Charmander is notable for being one of the 3 choices of starters Pokemon in the original Game Boy games Pokemon Red and Blue, along with Bulbasaur and Squirtle. So, it's a fire type. It's a lizard Pokemon. It's 2 feet tall. It's 18.7 pounds. And then what's this Blaze ability? Let's see more. It ups fire moves in a pinch. Okay. And then this Solar Power hidden ability. It boosts special attack but lowers health points, HP, in Sunshine. And I guess I'll take a moment here to explain these stats and what these mean for the game itself, especially if you're playing competitively. HP is health points. Attack is like, there are 2 types of attack. Attack and then SP attack, a special attack. So they have all attacks broken into 2 different classes. So an attack can either be a physical attack or it can be a special attack. There's defense and special defense, same thing, broken out. So a special defense would defend against special attack, and defense would defend against attack. And then there's the speed stat. So, and you'll see how those change as time goes on. Obviously prefers hot places. When it rains, steam is said to spout from the tip of its tail. Okay. There's its moves, which I don't want to get too bogged down in that aspect of things, but Char, name origin, Char, to burn or singe, and then Salamander, a lizard-like amphibian, or also a mythical fire-dwelling creature. Alright, and then we'll go on to number 5. Charmeleon. Okay. And so it's also a flame Pokemon, just over 3 feet tall, almost 42 pounds. Same abilities. Stats are a little bit better than Charmander's, a little bit different. And then it says when it swings its burning tail, it elevates the temperature to unbearably high levels. Going through the moves. And then at the bottom, name origin, Char, to burn or singe, and then Chameleon, a species of lizard. And now, probably one of the most recognized Pokemon in the entire franchise is Charizard. And so Charizard picks up an interesting thing where Charmander and Charmeleon were just fire. It's added on a flying type. So Charizard is a fire flying type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1. Charizard is a large dragon-like Pokemon, mainly orange in color. has two large wings, the underside which are turquoise. Like Charmander and Charmeleon, it has a flame at the end of its tail. The design of Charizard appears to draw inspiration from dragons of European folklore, with its large wings, horned head, and fiery breath. Charizard is notable for being the final evolution stage of one of the original starter Pokemon, along with Venusaur and Blastoise. Although it looks like a dragon, it doesn't have the dragon typing. However, it has two Mega Evolutions, available in Generation 6 games in Pokemon Go, one of which replaces the flying type with Dragon. Charizard also has a Gigantamax form available in Pokemon Sword and Shield, with an exclusive G-Max move, G-Max Wildfire. So, this Pokemon is so popular. I'll do this real quick and then I'll talk about this. So the height is just over 5 feet. It's almost 200 pounds. Same abilities. And this Pokemon is so popular that they created what was called Mega Evolutions, which was you could give it an item in the game, and then depending on the specific item, it would either turn into Mega Charizard X, which is this guy here, Fire Dragon, with a different ability, Tough Claws, or it could turn into Mega Charizard Y, which is this guy here. Also, just sticks with the fire and flying typing, and it's got the ability Drought, and then Drought summons Sunlight, and then let me go back to Charizard X. Tough Claws powers up moves that make direct contact. So depending on what kind of attacker you want, that's the difference. Of you can choose what item you want to give it. And then it says it spits fire that is hot enough to melt boulders. It's known to cause forest fires unintentionally. And then the naming. Char means to burn or singe, and then a lizard is a reptile. So Charizard. There you go. Let's move on to the next. And I know I might stir up a little bit of controversy here because I know so many people that went with Charizard when they started playing Pokemon. And it was because of that reason that I chose this guy right here in my very first playthrough of Pokemon ever, Squirtle. He was on the cover, or his evolution was on the cover of Pokemon Blue, and I was like, alright, I'm going to stick with being different. I'm committed. And so Squirtle, he's a water-type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1. He's bipedal, a reptilian Pokemon. He has a blue body with purple eyes, a light brown belly, and a tough red-brown shell on his back. He has a long tail that curls into a spiral. Squirtle is primarily based on a turtle, taking inspiration from both land-dwelling and sea-dwelling varieties. The curly tail resembles a crashing wave. Squirtle is notable for being one of the 3 choices of starter Pokemon in the original Game Boy games, Pokemon Red and Blue. And his species is a tiny turtle Pokemon. He's just over 1 foot tall, and he's almost 20 pounds. And his abilities are Torrent, which ups water moves in a pinch, and Rain Dish, which gives slight health recovery in the rain. And then its Pokedex entry says, after birth, its back swells and hardens into a shell. It powerfully sprays foam from its mouth. And the naming you could probably guess, but just in case, Squirt, Shoot Water, and Turtle, water-based reptile. Next is Wartortle, and he's a water-type turtle Pokemon, just over 3 feet tall, just shy of 50 pounds, same abilities. There's the stats, and then the evolution levels. That's one thing I haven't talked about yet, is that all 3 of these Charizard, or Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle evolved at level 16. Pokedex entry says, often hides in water to stalk unwary prey. For swimming fast, it moves its ears to maintain balance. Okay. And let's see what's next. Okay, so the name origin is war, epic battle. Okay, that makes sense. And then tortoise, it's got that root, and then large reptile with a protective shell, and then turtle, water-based reptile. So it combined all 3 of those. And then Blastoise. Blastoise is a water-type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1. Blastoise is a large bipedal reptilian Pokemon. It has a blue body with small purple eyes, a light brown belly, and a stubby tail. It has a large brown shell with two powerful water cannons on either side, which can be withdrawn. I always thought that was so cool as a kid. Blastoise's design is heavily influenced by turtles and tortoises. The cannons likely draw inspiration from the concept of a mobile tank or battleship. Blastoise is notable for being the final evolution stage of one of the game's original quote-unquote starter Pokemon, along with Venusaur and Charizard. It has a Mega Evolution available for Generation 6 games in Pokemon Go, and it has a Gigantamax form available in Sword and Shield, with an exclusive G-Max move, G-Max Cannonade. Okay, so there's the standard Blastoise, but then here's his Mega form. He takes these cannons and he just gets a Mega Cannon, apparently. And then these cannons on his arms, and then his ability is Mega Launcher. And that increases the power of all Aura and Pulse moves by 50%. Okay. Alright. And he's classified as a Shellfish Pokemon. Same abilities when he's not in the Mega form. And all three, Wartortle, Charmeleon, and Ivysaur, evolve at level 36 to their final stages here. And just like Charizard, there is the Mega form. I actually just realized I didn't even talk about Venusaur's Mega form, so I'll have to go back and fix that. So red and blue, a brutal Pokemon with pressurized water jets on its shell. They are used for high-speed tackles. Okay, and then the naming. Blast, an explosion, and Tortoise, a large reptile with a protective shell. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to the national dex here and talk about Venusaur, because I know Venusaur is a Mega, and I glossed right over it. I was just so excited. Here's Mega Venusaur. That's his Mega form, so you can see the change. Almost became like a palm tree on its back there, and his ability changes. It becomes thick fat, which reduces the damage taken from fire and ice type moves by 50%. Okay. Alright. So, I think that this is probably a good place to stop, given that this is all the starters. It's 1 through 9, so we can pick up next time in 10. But what I really would love to know from everybody is this something you would want to see more of? Like, is this fun for you too? Because what I'd hate to do is take the time and apply my sensibilities to everyone else and have them think that, or have myself think that everyone else would love this, and it's not something you want to see more of. So, give me a heads up. Let me know in the comments. Is this something you want to see more of? I know it's very different than what we typically do as far as like formal educational stuff that I've been going through in other videos, but just figured I'd go off the beaten path of what I've been doing and see what everybody thinks. So, thank you for watching. Appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see you next time.